Hey, world history. Welcome to U4-L2, The Rise of Rome. Again, my name is Miss Corey. I feel like most of you probably know that by now. Anyway, so your job, you're going to watch this ed puzzle, answer the questions. Questions that I will ask you during the video today will be in blue text. So those are just the ones I want you to answer on the ed puzzle. Important concepts on the study guide will be in red text. So make sure you're following along with your study guide. And if you have questions, email me or come to my office hours. So, learning targets. Students will be able to explain the mythological and historical way Rome was created, explain the basic elements of the Roman state, explain the basic elements of the Roman Republic. Woo, we got a lot to go on today, don't we? So, first question for you. When you hear ancient Rome, what do you think of? There are a ton of things you could think of. So you might think of the Colosseum. That's like a really big tourist spot. You might think of the Roman Forum. You might think of the aqueduct. So that's how water would get into the city. You might think of the Roman gods, which are very similar to the Greek gods. You might think of tourists because a lot of tourists go to Italy. You may think of Christianity because, yeah, we're going to be talking about the start of Christianity in this unit, which is always interesting. You might think of gladiator battles. That's what I think of, just because Gladiator is like my favorite movie, and it's the greatest movie ever to like exist. Anyway, yes, lots of fun things. I know we're not going to watch Gladiator, and I feel really, really bad about it because it's such a fabulous movie. And if you're my history through film, you just finished Gladiator about like a couple of weeks ago. We watch it, but we don't watch it in this class, which makes me so sad because that was my favorite part of world history was watching Gladiator. So awesome. Okay. Anyway, enough about that. We'll go back to Rome now. All right. So if you don't know where Italy is, it is right here in Europe. So here's the United States. Go across the ocean, past France, and you got Italy. Also note that Greece is right down here. So they're very close to each other. That's important to note. Here's more of a zoomed in map. So you can see Italy here, shaped like a boot. You can see that the southern island, Sicily, is very close to northern Africa. And it's most of it is on the Mediterranean Sea. Rome is going to be located right here. So kind of like in the center, but a little bit more closer to the Mediterranean Sea. And then here's Greece again. So you can see again, super close. So Italy's landscape. It is a very large peninsula. And it includes the island of Sicily, which I mentioned before, which is right here. So the city of Rome is kind of unique where it's actually not on the Mediterranean Sea itself, where you would probably think like, oh, well, why wouldn't they build a city on the ocean, right? Because then you just have direct access to the ocean. Um, but it is a really important location because it's the halfway point between North and South Italy. And again, it's about 15 miles away from the Mediterranean Sea. The Tiber River and hills surround the city of Rome. And this is really important why it lasted so long because it had natural protection from A, the river, and B, the mountains. It is also very hilly and mountainous across Italy, but it also has very, very fertile soil, something that Greece did not have. If you remember from last unit, we talked about how Greece did not have great soil. So, again, here is the city of Rome. And here's kind of a landscape of what Italy looks like. So you can see rolling hills, and then you got some more of the taller mountains, lots and lots of farmland. So when we talk about the Roman Empire, right, we're in Unit 4 Rome. So there really are three phases to ancient Rome. The first phase is the Roman state, the second phase is the Roman Republic, and then the third and the most like well-known phase is the Roman Empire. So today I'm just going to go really quickly over the Roman state that lasted from 733 to 507 BCE. We're going to talk about how it was a colony of Greece. We'll talk at the very, very end about Romulus and Remus, and then we'll talk about the seven kings that ruled the Roman state. And then the phase 2 is the Roman Republic. I'm actually going to I inserted a video into this video. I know, fun, right? For you to watch about the Roman Republic because the video just explains it way better than I ever could. And that lasted from 507 to 31 BCE, and it was ruled by the Senate and was oversaw by two councils. The video explains what the two councils are. And then lastly, the Roman Empire, which lasted from 31 BCE to 330 CE, and that's where you got like the famous emperors. Um, so this third piece here, the Roman Empire, that is going to be our main focus for the next 3 weeks. So today we're going to get through first phase and second phase, and the rest this time is going to be on the Roman Empire. So, yeah, did you know this unit lasts all the way to Thanksgiving? Oh my gosh, this unit's huge. Now we just got a lot to get through. All right, so Italy as a colony. So from about the 700s to the 500s BCE, um, Greece's population was like booming. There was a lot of trade, and they needed food to feed people. But like we said before, Greece land isn't great for farming. So what they need to do is they need to send out ships and peoples and supplies to start colonies in nearby land. And one of those, like we saw on the map, where it's really Italy and Greece are really close. Italy was one of those colonies. So you can kind of almost think of it like the British did to North America in the 1500s. You know, like how the United States was like formed and stuff. The British sent over people to to the North America, right, to get supplies and stuff. It's going to be the same thing here with Greece sending people over to Italy to colonize it. So you can see here, everything in blue is areas which Greece colonized. So you can see it. They went all the way over here to Spain, up here through the Black Sea, down here into northern Africa. But of course, the most famous being in Italy. So when Italy was a colony of Greece, um, the real big goal of Greece city states um, were to colonize the Mediterranean. This was because they wanted to spread Greek culture. They wanted to increase the land that the city states ruled, also get land that is better for farming, and get resources such as precious metals, food, lumber, animals, stones, all that good stuff. So now we kind of start forming in away from a colony, and Rome kind of takes its own independence. So there are several Greek colonies surrounded this hill. This hill is called Palatine Hill. You can still visit today. This is what it looks like. And colonies from multiple states surrounded this hill. So there was lots and lots of competition from each other. Most of the people who colonized this area around Palatine Hill were farmers, and there was a lot of power struggle between the farmers. So poor farmers would just have small little plots of land that they would farm, where wealthy farmers, as you can imagine, had huge, vast plots of land. Because the wealthy farmers had more power because they ruled more land, they got into politics and they created something called the Council of Elders as their government. So they're kind of shifting away from the Greek, like being ruled by Greek city states, to now making their own government. So, kind of long story short, I mean, we could spend like an hour talking about this, but we won't. The Council of Elders unified all Greek colonies surrounding Palatine Hill, and the Council of Elders forms into something known as the Senate. That is where the elected officials are given like power, political power, and the wealthier the senator equals the more voting power, which still stands, I mean, true to this day, right? Like politicians need donors to run their campaigns, and it was the same thing back in ancient Greece. There was also one king that ruled over all of the unified colonies. Um, which surprisingly, in about the 150 years that this existed, there was only 7 kings, which doesn't really seem like a whole lot for ruling 150 years. They built their capital on Palatine Hill, which I showed you in the last slide, and the city built upon Palatine Hill is named Rome. Now, at the end of the slideshow, there's also another like mythological way of how Rome came to be. I'll explain that at the very end, but this is like the historical way. All right, so the Roman state. Yes, the last 150 years, it kind of has a dramatic ending. So the last king, his name was Lucius Tarquinius Superbus, and he murdered his father to become the king, if that gives you an idea of who he was as a person. He also murdered any senator that did not agree with him. So he became incredibly power hungry. So that's where this senator, Lucius Junius Brutus, led a rebellion against Tarnicus in 507 BCE. And the senators created the republic. They're like, we're done with kings. Like, we don't want any more super buses. Like, that was awful. And so they create something called the Roman Republic, which begins Rome's second phase. Here's a statue of Brutus that's like creepy. Super creepy. Great statue, super creepy. Anyway, so next up is a Ed puzzle that I just embedded right into this video. So watch the video. I have included it within this video. Yes, it's a video within a video. Answer the questions like normal, and it'll explain the Roman Republic, Senate, and Council. So it's going to explain all of that second phase stuff. So enjoy. Welcome back. So, like I kind of hinted before, there is also another mythological way of how Rome came to be. And it can be explained all within this picture right here. This picture explains the entire story. So, my next question for you is just going off this picture, what do you think the story of how Rome was created is about? Just take your best guess. This is really going to be interesting. You can't say, I don't know. Just take a guess. How does the statue like symbolize the start of Rome? Just take a wild guess. All right. So, um, here's the story. This is the short version. I was going to insert a video about like the myth of Romulus and Remus, but I couldn't find any good ones. They're all like either too long or just kind of like eh. All right, so Romulus and Remus, they were twin brothers. They were abandoned by their parents, and this wolf, whose name is Lupa, founds them floating in the river in a basket. So she's the one who raises them, nurses them back to health. Eventually, the boys were found by a shepherd, and he was the one to like raise them till they were young men. To honor Lupa, Romulus and Remus wanted to build a huge city. They're like, this awesome wolf, like, literally saved us from death, so let's build a cool city in her honor. The brothers fought over the location of the city. Um, During that conflict, Romulus killed Remus, and he built the city on Palatine Hill, and he named the city Rome after himself. And then he became the first king. That's like the mythological version of it. Yeah, it's interesting. And here's like some like artist rendition of like Romulus being like, "No, I don't like you. I'm going to stab you." Yeah. That's how the mythological story goes. Pretty interesting. Anyway, so next up, you're going to do U4-L3, who were the Roman emperors. That's a reading, by the way. If you have questions, email your teacher, either Mrs. Hinkle or me. If you want to learn more, email me. I'm more than happy to share more information with you. My office hours are from Monday from 12 to 1 if you want to stop by. Mrs. Hinkle's are Wednesdays from 2 to 3. And if you're in my class, don't forget to do the weekly check-in. All right. That is all I got for you. See ya.